Hello, my name is Carina, and in this podcast, Break Fear, Find Freedom, I have conversations with people just like you who have broken their fear and found their freedom, whatever that may be. And shows you how to do the same. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee or your running shoes, whatever makes you happy, and let the fun begin. Oh, by the way, come take my hand and let's go. The door's opening now.
Hello, everybody. It's Carina again here with Break Fear and Find Freedom. And today we have awesome Dino Miliotis again.
Hello, Carina.
Hello, Dino. It's always so exciting to have you on the show because we never know what exciting things you've done during the week. But today I want to ask you, what fear did you break this week?
I'm breaking a lot of fears. I'm breaking records, actually. One of the things I want to say is that this segment, I think, is going to be special because we're approaching the holidays. And it's time for at least for me, for reflection, right?
Yes.
And so, this never gets old, by the way. But I am spending a lot of time doing some deep dives into myself, not to uncover horrible things about me, but basically in layman's terms, to remember who I am. A lot of times you forget who you are.
Yes.
And
yes.
So what I wanted to do, if it's okay with you, is focus on some principles of success, which some of them I remember, a lot of them I forgot about. And so, your show is very appropriately addressing entrepreneurs, really, who broke their fears.
Yes.
But this can apply to anything. So this is, I hope people enjoy it. It's going to be a good segment because, look, the more I share with you, it's healing for me. I mean, trust me. So it's okay. It's okay. If you can help one person, that's fine. And by the way, a shout out to Mr. Michael, who last week wrote a very nice note about our segment. That was pretty cool. I appreciate it.
That's
Did
very
you read
cool.
it?
Yes, we'd love some more comments like that, please.
I love it. I love it. So it means that we're touching people, and that's the bottom line. Whether you touch one person or a million people, you got to start somewhere.
Yes.
But
yes.
here's the thing for me. When I'm taking deep dives into myself, and I by no means am I a therapist, but you know yourself, and there's a lot of things that your mind shuts out over
Yes.
time, either because it's an uncomfortable thing or you just plain forget who you are. And I think especially for entrepreneurs, you got to remember what an entrepreneur is, okay? It means a lot of things, but I'll talk about for myself. An entrepreneur isn't your business owner. He's not the person who's going to buy a building and, get some employees and have a factory and have it for the next 50 years and pass it down. That's not what I believe an entrepreneur is. An entrepreneur is somebody who loves to create, loves the drive, loves the frustration, believe it or not, as much as the success, and wants to constantly reinvent themselves.
Yes.
Okay, so remember the reinvention part because it applies to personal life as well. So it's not necessarily something that you want to be pigeonholed into one thing. Now, over 40 years, I equated me as an entrepreneur. I didn't really know what I was. Am I a salesman? Am I a business guy? Am I an entrepreneur? I don't know. But I had this incredible drive and these incredible ideas, and I had no fear in attempting new things. And you kind of forget that. The older you get, I think the more cautious you are because you're just like, well, I'm not in my 20s or 30s. But I now believe that this can apply to, any time in your life. So, it's really cool when you could soul search and remember things and remember who you are, and remember what made you who you are. Give you an example, okay? And this is going to freak you out. Between 2016 and 2017, I purchased 4 houses, 2 yachts, 2 jets, 2 Range Rovers, 2 Jaguars, 3 Rolls Royces, 1 Bentley, and a Lamborghini.
Okay, that's quite insane. Okay.
Yeah, no
Yes,
kidding.
yes,
Tell me about
yes.
it. And I thought I needed these things, you know, because it's cool. You're making money, you want to blow it, and you do blow it. And you know, honestly, I'm glad I had those things, because it although they were very, very nice, it's not what life is about. I mean, in the beginning, I thought that you know, success and happiness was roads to riches, right?
Yes, yes.
And look at me, look at me, look at me. But as I'm getting older, it's not so much the material stuff that I've accumulated, or the newspaper clippings that I can collect. It's more, how do I want to be remembered, right? You know, do I want to be remembered as the guy with the flashy cars, or do I want to be remembered for something that has substance, not only to me, but to others? I mean, it's a very important, and it's a very fair question, right?
Yes.
So it brings me back to a time when, and keep in mind, all my mentors that I chose were people that were driven by money, power, and success, pretty much,
Yeah.
except for one, And during the time that he was mentoring me, I thought of him as the lamest of all my mentors. I now think of him as the best of all my mentors, because he was a guy who, by all standards, was very wealthy, self-made, very loving husband and wife team, very humble. And they created something that was very low key. It was very special. It was a private home furnishings club. It was before direct buy. You know, you pay a membership for future purchases for your home that you could buy direct from the factories, and you save a bunch of money. It's a concept sale.
It's a beautiful concept, yes.
It is, but you got to understand, the guy came from very humble beginnings. And I thought he was crazy, because every Wednesday he would bring everybody from every office. He'd bring them to the headquarters, not to talk about your numbers or to talk about sales goals or anything like that, but to talk about the principles of success.
I love this.
And I'm just like, oh boy, here we go. This is like a cult or something like that. But I quickly embraced those meetings, because it wasn't self-serving. There was no selfish intent whatsoever. It was just simple things that I think everybody can relate to, but it's just like sometimes you forget them until they're ingrained in your mind, right?
Yeah.
And so I've talked about before, you know, be a person of your word.
Yes.
Right. Then he used to say, give it all you got and a little bit more. You know, if they could do it, I could do it. I've talked about those things.
Yes.
But one of the things that I forgot about was, do the things others aren't willing to do.
Oh, yes.
Which is just on its face, just almost like third grade stuff. But think about it for a second. Aren't willing to do, not can't do, aren't willing to do. And so I started reflecting back and thinking that all my life, all my business career, I did the things that others weren't willing to do. There was a limit to what people either believed they couldn't do, they were lazy, or, you know, whatever you want to call it. But 100 people all want, let's say, to be a business owner. There's like maybe 2 or 3 that will actually be one. Why? Because they're doing the things others aren't willing to do. It's the late night calls, it's the early morning calls, it's the crises that you face day after day. And isn't that kind of like facing your fears?
It is, right? It is. Because for me, the biggest thing for me was to publish, for example. So you want to publish your work, your articles, and there's someone that will publish every single day, right? There's people out there that publish every single day, but there's other people that publish once every 3 months because they might have, like for me, at one point, I had a whole lot of articles, but I didn't publish any of them. So I was in the pot of all the other people, whereas other people are rising to the top because they're pushing the publish button, right? So already on that level, you can see that they're rising because they're doing what others aren't willing to do. I love that. And you'll see it all over, and you'll see the successful people, the successful businesses. That's exactly what's happening, because it's easier to sit on and watch TV, it's easy, but it's not easy but it's not easy to actually go out and make those calls, or actually go out and write the articles or do the podcasts or whatever it is. So that that on its own is worth gold, because it's so true.
So no, let me backtrack and understand the man who said these things to me. Okay, he's a guy who had a mansion in Missouri with a lake, huge acreage, and every time you'd win a sales contest, you could stay there for the weekend. And he and I got to be good friends. But he also had a mansion in a suburb of Chicago, Medina, Illinois. And for those that wouldn't know where that is, there's what's the famous golf course, Medina Country Club. He was on the golf course. He had a house on the golf course.
Oh, wow.
And this is the golf course that hosted the Western Open. This is the golf course that famously Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan had a round of golf and they would talk privately. This is the place. Okay.
Wow.
And so it's a very affluent neighborhood. And I remember, coming over his house several times, and here he is. He's got established businesses and everything. And here he is with his wife down the street, Medina Street, and he's picking up bottles and cans for recycling.
Wow.
To get that 5 cents back. You know what I mean? Which is just like unheard of. I mean, he drove normal cars, a Mercedes, but not the fanciest Mercedes. There was an SUV. I mean, all this stuff, but certainly not the guy that's the flashy guy and with the jets and everything. He was very, very humble, very frugal, but such a big heart. I'll never forget this man. He's in my book in chapter 8. I write all about him. And although it didn't work out where I stayed with him, I just had a different calling. And he was very disappointed to see me go. I was like a second son. Yes. He wished me the best of luck, and we stayed in touch for a while. But I'll never forget those teachings of humble beginnings. So, I have been, for the last 2 weeks, reintroducing that into my life, right? You could call it breaking glass ceilings, the ones that really don't exist, but you believe they are. I was so afraid and I didn't know why. I had a panic attack, anxiety. Well, maybe it came from a childhood. Well, maybe it was in my family. Well, maybe it was. Maybe it is. That's not the important thing. The important thing to remember is, like it or not, I mean, we've all suffered from anxiety at one time or another all through our lives, and will continue to suffer from anxiety, but it's how you handle it. So I guess what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to face my fear, not in an overwhelming state, but maybe 1 at a time, 2 at a time, and stuff like that. And it's really working out, because really, I mean, that corny saying, the only thing to fear is fear itself. Think about it. That's all. I mean, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? You try a business. If you exhaust all efforts and give it 100% and it doesn't work out, yeah, it's unfortunate that it doesn't work out. But you have the peace of mind that you've exhausted all efforts, and for you, this didn't work out. Yes. That doesn't mean everything won't work out. It just means that this particular venture didn't work out. Yes. So there's a difference between doing the things other people aren't willing to do, or being a person of your word, and what you hear people say, well, I'm going to die trying. You don't want to die trying. Okay. there's limitations to stuff. I mean, there's healthy things. But what you want to do is you want to feel comfortable and say to yourself, did I give it 100%
Yes.
or not?
Yes.
And that keeps you going. That keeps you going.
Yes.
That
yes.
was the drive and the fire that I've had all my life, that somewhere along the line between rehabilitation, writing a book, and isolation, I forgot. And I'm the kind of person that's like, oh, well, you're going to go back to basic sales 101. Come on. You know what I mean? But sometimes it's good to read Sales 101 because you forget who you are.
Yes.
You forget where you came
Yes.
from, right?
Yes.
And so now, believe it or not, Carina, I mean, I'm handling, what was it, 2 weeks ago? Yeah, 2 weeks ago. I'm handling a move, business and corporations, a major website, board meetings with the foundation, Zoom for now, live when I move. I have people, auctioneers that are coming to auction off all of the contents of this house. And then I have my California stuff in California that I have to do the same thing. I'm doing this all while promoting the book, and I'm busier than I've ever been. And you know what? I love it.
Of course you do. It's the best.
I love it. It's the best. And, you know, it's deep within any person to want to be successful, to want to earn a living, to want to be comfortable, to want to have money. But I think that, you know, I encourage everybody who isn't in that situation yet, do it. You know, and as I write in my book, I mean, if you become successful and you make it, I promise you, if you're like me, you're going to spend your first million. Go ahead, blow it, get it out of your system. But then what's it all about? Is it about another car? Is it about another house? Is it about look at me, and all these shallow relationships that you create? Or is it something deeper that drives people? And I think it's something deeper. I think it's involving people into your life, into your dream, that could participate in your purchase. Not only do you give them a living, but you give them hope, you give them drive, and you're also mentoring. Very rewarding things. I mean, selfishly, this is like almost like about me. But it is and it isn't. It's helping others as well, by walking the walk and talking the talk, showing them. It's easy to write a book and just say, well, you do this and you do this, and you know, try this and make sure you do this. It's easy to do that. And most of the people that write these how-to books, believe it or not, are just full-time scholars. They're bookworms. They've never experienced it out in the real world.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
A lot of them haven't even, they haven't walked the talk. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but some people.
It's all to them. It's all educated theory. I mean, it's not like, you know, just spouting off at the mouth. I mean, obviously they have credentials and they have statistics to back them up, but have they done it themselves? You know, some have, most haven't. And so when you're lucky enough to be in a position where you have done different things, you've reinvented yourself, I don't know how many times, and you're able to persevere and overcome things and be resilient, you know, people kind of look at that like almost like a magic trick, but it really isn't. I mean, everybody has this ability if they soul search, you know. And so one of the things that I would say is find out who you are, find out what makes you tick, and there's no shame if at the current time in your life what makes you tick is money. There's no shame in saying, well, you know what, I want to help other people and money's not important. You know, it's different for different people. And so what I'm finding out is that we're all fragile in so many different things. And so you'll never overcome fear, period. But what you'll do is you'll learn how to handle fear, because it's not just one fear, it's different fears at different times that manifest different ways. And if you're running away from them or avoiding them, you can't run away from your shadow, except if you're Peter Pan, right?
Yes.
You can't,
Yes.
you
Yes.
can't, but so
And you don't
so
want
I
to be
don't,
Peter Pan because you never
no,
grew
no,
up, right? And you
well,
never learned from, oh, that's also another story, but you need to learn from your experiences.
no,
I think. I think.
I understand. So I don't want to give the wrong impression where I'm sitting there saying, hey, I'm packing up, I got a house, I'm moving to the East Coast, yay. I'm not running away from my problems, is I guess what I'm stressing to all the viewers out there. You can't run away from your problems. I mean, eventually, if I was there and I became isolated, I'd go through the same thing, right? But I don't care where I am. I was just determined to beat this. And the way that I was determined to beat this is, well, who knows me better than me? You know what I mean? I mean, counseling's good. Having a psychiatrist is good. You know, therapy, all that stuff is wonderful. They're all tools, but who knows you better than you?
Exactly.
And you usually have your solution. It's just breaking the boundaries that hold you back. I mean,
So how do you do that? So you've got the solution. I mean, for me, I see a lot of people worry about money, right? So there's no money, there's no money, there's no money. Where am I going to find this money? I don't have money, I don't have money. So obviously your brain shuts down. So it's the question to say, so, okay, what solution is there? How am I going to do this, or whatever it is? How would you describe that whole process?
Well, and that's a very good point, because, okay, let's pretend you're not an entrepreneur, right? You're just a regular blue collar, white collar worker. Okay. And I'm not demeaning anybody. It's just, I got to categorize these things. Some of the biggest fears that people have, is they don't have confidence in themselves, right? So they have a low self-opinion of themselves.
Yes.
Another one is always going to be money.
Yes.
How do I get the money to support this and this and this? And keep in mind, constantly, you got TV commercials and ads all over the place that is just like, buy. Look at this. Look at, well, who doesn't want nice things, right? Who doesn't want those nice things? And obviously, unfortunately, a lot of people overextend themselves because of that. I mean, it's in your head all the time. I mean, if I said everybody out there who would like to have a Rolls Royce, raise your hand. Do you really think nobody's going to raise their hand? Everybody will. But when you find out that a hubcap is $3,000 and a tune-up is $5,000, and the insurance is, it puts it in perspective. But they all want it. Okay, they all want it. Another one is the honesty in the family dynamic. In other words, there's a lot of people out there in the family where it's just like, well, my spouse can't earn more than me, and I don't know why, but it really bothers them. Instead of just saying, I'm an independent person, that I could perform and function independently, and my spouse, if they, make more money, less money, who cares? I mean, they're happy, I'm happy. That's the bottom line. Yeah. So let's address your point. If I was a guy with 9 other people, so there's 10 people, and we all worked at a place for 3 years, and we all had the same boss, I wouldn't hesitate for a second to go up to that boss and ask for a promotion. I wouldn't.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you. Just hold that thought, okay? Just going to stop you for 1 second. How do you do that, and what is it within you that makes you want to do that, as opposed to the other person who can't do it, who doesn't, who just sits there? What is that thing inside you that makes that happen, that makes you get up and say, you know what, I can do this, I need a promotion because I'm just good at this job, or whatever it is that you, what is it? What is the process?
It's belief in yourself. So if you're going to ask for the promotion simply because you're short on rent and stuff like that, and you need money, next, okay? Don't do it
Yes.
for the money, okay?
Yes.
If you're under the impression that there's favoritism in the company, that for some reason the boss likes the other person better than you, get that out of your head. We're talking about 10 people with the same ability, with the same qualifications, that have worked at the same place for the same amount of time.
Okay.
What's the difference between me walking up and asking for a promotion and others is belief, belief. Okay, you ever hear the thing, you'll never know unless you try, or you'll never know unless you ask? That's true. We put too much emphasis on, sorry bosses, but we put too much emphasis on the intelligence and the perception of an employer, okay? Most employers won't go home thinking about Jane or Johnny and, oh my God, I wish they'd come up and ask me for a promotion. You know, they don't do that. They don't do that. And a lot of times they want to see who stands out in the crowd, do the things other people aren't willing to do. Right. And not in a cutthroat way. It's not like making somebody else look bad to elevate yourself. That's never going to last. But it's the ability to go. I mean, I've gone in and asked for promotion even when I didn't even know I can do it. Because what's the big deal? It's all, you know, trial by fire. I mean, it's all learning by doing. And if you're working at like a Fortune 500 company, obviously there's a training program that they put you through first. It's not like they're going to just throw you in there and just say, okay, perform. And what's the worst thing that happens? You know, you get a chance, and then, you know, I don't mean you're on your own, but I mean, obviously you're either going to shine or you're not. And that's where, you know, exhaust all efforts, give it 100%, everything you have. And it certainly doesn't mean that if you get the promotion, you turn around and you act differently to your peers, those 9 other people. My advantage was always that not only would I ask for a promotion, after I got it, I had the most loyal following around because I was one of them. I wasn't, you know, snobby. I didn't look down on them. I worked with them. I had the ability to form a team that was incredibly loyal. You know, the side effect is when you're working in corporate America, my bosses would always feel threatened of me. And I'm like, no, it's true. And I would say, look, if I wanted your job, I'd take it, but I really don't want your job. You know, I'm sorry, you know, that I'm popular or whatever. I forgot about all those things. And these are simple things. You know, when you write a book, Carina, or at least when I did, I was advised to put down the highlights of my life, just little snippets of my life that were, I guess, from a reader's standpoint, very interesting and just sensational, right? But it kind of makes you forget about all the little things that are more important than saying, well, you know what, I was in People magazine, I was in Forbes, I was on the Oprah show. Okay, yeah, those, wow, okay, not many people can say that. But it's different when you give them real life examples of the little things that you did. That were so important. And they're like, well, what possessed you to do that? It was just belief. I didn't know any better, but I had a strong belief in myself. And so while I'm soul searching and while I'm having my anxiety and my panic attacks, I went back to the drawing board and I thought about, who am I? Where did I come from? And what happened? Because we all need to be kept on track. Even me, even you know, other people. And you start remembering that, you know, I always believed in myself. I always believed in the outcome. I always took chances. They weren't risky, you know what I mean? Like crazy stuff, but they were chances that other people weren't willing to do. And the belief that I could do it just kept propelling me along. to the point now where, Carina, I'll tell you that after I started kind of self-analyzing, even though I'll always have some fear and anxiety and stuff, I'm learning not just how to cope with it, but how to face it and minimize it, right? And minimize it. Like, this is not real. This is not real. And a lot of these feelings come from not having belief anymore. You know what I mean? I mean, I've never been an author, right? I don't know what it's like. But personally, and for all authors out there, that may spoil the fun, but for me, you see about these authors, their book becomes a movie, they're interviewed all the time, and they're kind of almost like celebrities, glitz and glamour and fame and all that sort of stuff. And for some strange reason, that's what's in my head. I'm sure it's in a lot of other writers' heads too. And I will say that if you're doing it for those reasons, don't do it. Okay, don't do it. But if you're doing it to put something out that can help people, that's great. But writing a book was just a healthy thing that I felt compelled to do. But it certainly doesn't mean that I'm an author, and it certainly doesn't mean that I have to act like an author and live like an author, because I could never do it. I'm an entrepreneur. I'll always be an entrepreneur. I'll always be a rock star. That's all there is to it. And I'm starting to remember the little things that got me there. And I'm not afraid of anything right now when it comes to that. Like, what's going to happen when I move and I start this foundation and, all this other stuff? Great things. Great things.
Yes.
It's not what if anymore. Or, I don't know if I could do it. And, the move may be scary. And yeah, it'll be all that stuff. But it'll also be probably one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in my life. And I've done a lot of things, of things.
And I just like to interject here, just to add to your moving, it is snowing outside, right?
Yeah, you want to see? Can you see it?
Yes, look at that. Whoa, that's beautiful. It really
Not
is.
really.
And it's not really beautiful for you. No, I get what you say.
Have you ever moved in the cold?
Or the snow?
It's not exactly fun, but hey, you gotta do it. I mean, I'm still set for January 6th to go out there. It's going to be a great time. I'll probably be driving and packing and moving and doing all kinds of things, even throughout the holiday. But that's okay. That's okay, because I'm on a mission. So, again, these principles of success that I was talking about, and this mentor that touched me in a very special way, don't overlook those things, because they're very, very, truly important. Being a person of your word, okay, that's one of the principles. How cool is that? There's a lot of people, especially now in the cyber world and everything, where they feel they have to mislead and redirect and fib, and I'm not going to say lie, but I'm going to say lie. There's a lot of stuff out there that's kind of bad stuff. I mean, it's bad stuff. And you just kind of figure these people, if they spent as much time as they do doing the bad stuff as they did with good, they'd be scary. They'd be amazing.
Yes.
But there's always going to be that element, that nefarious element in the world, until you start believing that there's more. I always believe this. There's more good people in the world than there are bad.
Yes.
And these things that we watch on the news, constant cycles of just, riots and violence and racism and, all the things that they talk about every day. I mean, I watched the news yesterday. I stopped watching it. I couldn't watch it anymore because it's all the same stuff. And then I start realizing that this news is coming from basically two cities, New York, or states, New York and California. The majority of the people in this country are not bad people. They don't dwell on negatives. They like a happy life. They like a purposeful life. They like being providers. They they worship or they meditate or they, whatever. But you
mm.
start looking at one little snippet of life, and then you start thinking that that's the norm. Now, that's what happened. That's what happened to me. I started believing after the book that everything's going to be virtual from now on, that I'm not
Yes.
going to have any contact with people and everything's going to be very impersonal. And that really bummed me out. That was just like, wow.
I know. I'd like to just 1 minute, sorry, I'm going to interject again.
Oh,
I'm going to speak to the viewers now and all the listeners, and please go back and see the first episodes that we had with Dino, and you'll see the changes, and you'll see also how devastated he was with the situation that you were in. So that will be interesting to see how you've changed and developed and just
you should start
grown
putting this,
then.
the transformation of Dino. But again, I mean, look, like what they say with the climate change, historically throughout history, the climate's changed. It's gone up and down and up and down, and we forget, just like on Instagram or a lot of these social platforms, we always show the best of ourselves. On my book cover, I went to a photographer. I think they touched me up, made me look all pretty and stuff. And it's all the best of yourself, right? But nobody is ever willing to show the worst of themselves. And I hope that in a small way, these segments that we do, basically I'm unveiling good times and positive thoughts, and I'm also unveiling negative thoughts, which do happen.
Yes.
For two reasons. The first one is obviously it's helping me. This is therapy, believe it or not. The second one is I want people to see that this thing happens to everybody.
Yes.
This thing's it's not just it doesn't just touch one segment of the population. This is all segments of the population. It's just how many people are willing and able to share it.
Yes.
And that's therapy. I mean, digging into like little personal details and personal fears and stories, I think is helpful, especially around this holiday season.
Yes.
I read an article today, Carina, or breezed through it, where the Surgeon General was saying that employers should look into the very, very serious problem of mental health at the workplace, almost like putting it on the businesses to worry about somebody's mental health.
Yes.
Which is, again, I think ridiculous. But mental health, I think, is something that is going to be, it is vitally important, but something that's going to become more easy to talk about. It's going to, there won't be a stigma associated with it as much, which is healthy, healthy.
Yes.
So, obviously insurance covers things. Most insurance covers things for mental health, or what they call wellness now. And, just like you take a personal sick day, I mean, if you're feeling out of sorts, you should be able and could, just say that, hey, I need this time off. I need to go see my therapist. I believe that is what we should be able to do without fear of, this stigma that's attached to it. But I don't think it's up to the employer to say, hey, are you okay? You're not looking good today. If you looked into therapy, we know ourselves better than anyone. It's just that we have to try to soul search. And I don't know exactly how to recommend that that's done, but it all starts when you start thinking back to childhood. There's happy memories, there's repressed memories. There are things at the workplace that you may have not thought were important, but if you look back at it at a certain time in your life, you're like, wow, I can't believe I did that.
Yes.
But I did.
Yes.
And it just goes to show you that we don't have a clue to understanding the mind, it's just going to be different. But there's the social impact that affects how you feel as well. And I think that now more than ever, soul searching, or call it meditation or call it reflecting, is vital. It's critical. Just like having breakfast. I mean, my advice is take like 10 minutes out of your day and just go to a quiet place without any interruptions, and almost like daydream, but just like reflect back to those times so that you can find out who you are. Very, very important. And it's really helped me.
I love that. And it's a very good advice, especially now, because I think at this time of the year, it's very traumatic for a lot of people, because they're going home, going back into the home environment where a lot of times there was conflict, and that's why a lot of people ran away in the first place. But they're going back, and it's going to take them back to where they were, and they have to realize that they've grown from that as well, and they're a different person, and maybe a better person or not, it doesn't matter. So that's important. And another thing that you also mentioned is how we forget about the good things we do, and how we get through, things. So you don't remember how you survived cancer, for example, or how you survived homelessness, or how you got through, I don't know, having no money and growing from there, or whatever it is. And I think it's important to remember those things so that you can see that you are stronger than you think you are.
Yeah, and the fact that we could sit there and talk about these things we remember that were low points, obviously, just goes to show you that we survived.
Yes,
we survived.
Yes.
I mean, do I want to file bankruptcy for $10 million today? No. It's a horrible feeling. It's a horrible experience. When it happened, I thought it was the end of the world.
Yes. Yes.
Fast forward to today, it's just a blip on the screen of life. There's just so much more to life than a moment that we focus on. And the thing that I will say is that we got to stop dwelling on the things that we read about or see on TV.
Yes.
And I'm not preaching, politics or anything like that, only to say that the country, it seems, has gotten so far away from values and so far away from just simple conversations to which you can agree to disagree, but it's healthy conversation, it's healthy debate. We've gone into this, if you're not on my side, you're my enemy, and I don't want to talk to you, and I'm going to dismiss you. And we never get to know people. Yes. So, here's what I did last week. Again, breaking glass ceilings. And, this is like a challenge for me, because I think I told you on a segment that, I'm going to beat this. And I am my own way. I mean, this is how I feel I should do it. So until I get out to where I'm moving and, start interacting with people, I just figured, I'm going to interact in the largest or smallest way with anybody I come into contact with. So I go last week and I get my hair cut. And I'm sitting in the chair, and she's, cutting my hair, and she starts talking about, oh, you're moving, and, what are you doing for the holidays? I said, probably nothing but moving. And she's like, well, aren't you going to celebrate and have a drink? I'm like, no. Why not? Well, because I'm an alcoholic. I don't drink. I just said it. And she starts talking about her husband, who's soon to be ex-husband, who's just out of control, doesn't think he has a problem, and always comes home drunk and says he's going to take the kids, that kind of a thing. And I'm not making fun of him, because alcohol makes people do stupid things. Trust me.
Yes.
And you got to know you have a problem. Apparently, he didn't know he had a problem. I got out of my barber's chair. I ran into my car, and I had a box, and in there I had a book, and I bring it to her, and I said, give this to your husband. Tell him that I was a raging alcoholic, and if he thinks that, he's got a problem, trust me, mine was worse, because she told me how much he drinks. I'm like, beer? I got you beat. You know what I mean? Straight vodka, baby. So she took the book, she brought it home, she gave it to him. He actually read it.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and he called me and he's just like, do you mind if I pick your brain and, ask you questions? And it was all fear-based.
Yes.
It was all fear-based. Do you know what his biggest problem was? Well, there were two. The first one was he hated himself for regressing to the level that he got to. More so how he feels his family looked at him than what he was doing to himself. Again, fear, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then the other thing is how do I quit? I can't do it on my own. And I've never gone to a rehab facility and I'm just afraid.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
Fear. I was afraid a couple days before I went to rehab. I'm like, what if I don't like it? What if this? What if that? Dude, just do it. Get in there. But you got to admit that you have to have a problem. And so
Yes.
I'm very proud that one book, it was just almost an immediate feedback, positive feedback that, you know what, my book helped. My book helped this person.
Yes.
Then I'm having extended conversations with cashiers in convenience stores or at the gas station. And you know what? You get to know people when you drop the, do you know who I am kind of stuff and this pompous background. You get to know everyday people who are beautiful and they're all looking for hope. They're all positive and they all enjoy talking to one another, something that I don't think we do enough anymore.
Yes.
And so the other thing is that you have, and again, this is one of the principles of success, is to stay humble. And to stay humble doesn't necessarily mean you have to live in a shack, and drive a rusted out 30-year-old car. But staying humble means being true to, who you are. Wealth isn't who you are. It's stuff that you've acquired and achieved through hard work over the years, but that's not who you are. Who you are is Dino Miliotis, right? And who is Dino Miliotis? Is he the guy with the fancy cars and the homes and all that stuff and throwing money around? Nobody's going to remember that, but they're all going to remember Dino, who stopped and took the time to talk to them as a person and not, looking down on them or judging them or anything like that. I think that's what people should be doing, especially now around the holidays, is just, take a breath, take a moment and start appreciating that there's a lot of people out there everybody's the same. Everybody's the same.
Yes.
It's just that some people don't believe that they can achieve things that others have. So some people don't know how, but it's not that they can't do it. It's just that sometimes they need a nudge. Sometimes they need a mentor, right? Or somebody to inspire them. So I'm on the right track. I'm on the right track. I mean, if I had a church, I'd be a great preacher. And I think that this foundation is going to be kind of like my church, because I'm going to spread this sermon Billy Graham style from coast to coast. And I'm telling you, this thing is going to be big, and not big like, oh, look at all the money that's coming in, but it's going to be big in the way that we touch people's lives.
Yes.
Individual people, all with a story, equally as important as mine or yours or anybody else's.
Yes.
And I think that's a fantastic way to live,
It's beautiful. And that probably is a great way to end the session, where all we have to do is just stop thinking about, how other people see us. Just go out and say hello or smile at someone. And you'll also feel better about yourself, but you might save a life. You know how many times you hear the stories where someone's about to commit suicide and someone else just shows them a bit of kindness, and it changes their lives, and they're still here to tell the tale. So
Yeah,
I think that is a beautiful way. So for this, it's time of the year, just go out and be yourself and just spread a bit of love and kindness just by saying hello, right?
yeah,
And see how
yeah.
you feel about it. That's a challenge. How do you feel about that? And see what connection does. It's beautiful to connect with other people.
A single touch can change the world. Remember that.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Dino. On that beautiful note, thank you, everybody. We will see you next week. And thank you, Dino, so much. This was a very awesome conversation again, as usual. And we'll see you next week.
Usual. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening. And thank you for listening right to the end. Now, if you want to know more about breaking fear and if it's keeping you stuck, check out the quiz. The details are below. Subscribe so you can hear some more of this delicious conversations. And then watch out for my book, The Clank of Chains, which is coming out very soon. Thank you again for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye.